Welcome to a new episode of Monroe MustHangs. I'm your host, Director of Sports Information, David Spiegel, and here with me today is the only head football coach that Monroe College has ever known. Please welcome Terry Karg.
All right, great to be with you this afternoon.
Appreciate it, Coach Karg. Thanks for coming on. Been hoping to have you on here for a while, so I'm glad we can get this done. So, Coach Karg, you started off with Monroe in 2011, and like I said, you're the only coach we've known. Started up the program from scratch. And it's been a very successful run to this point, I would say, especially the last few years, just really the peak of the program to this point. But I want to start at the beginning for you today, because I want to make sure our audience knows a lot more about you than what they know from the surface. So my first question for you today is, where did your interest and passion for football begin?
Well, that goes back quite a long ways. I was very, very interested in football at a very young age, probably second grade. I can remember going out to recess during grade school and playing tackle football on the cement with my classmates. Growing up in Seattle, Washington, you're going to have a lot of time out at recess with damp, wet days. So instead of going on the grass, we would play tackle football on the cement. And so as crazy as that sounds, when I went into third grade, I had an opportunity, another classmate of mine, his father was a football coach of a little league team. So I started playing football in third grade, and I can remember vividly to this day asking my parents if I could play on the team, and they were thinking about it. And my father would go to work pretty early, about 6 a.m. or so. And I remember getting up really early and sitting on the couch and, waiting for them to make the decision, because that was going to be the first day of practice, in the afternoon. And my father said, yeah, you can do it. So that was, where it all started in third grade. And I played or coached football every year since I was 8 years old.
That's great. A good start. And it was tackle football back then too?
Yeah, I was playing tackle football starting in third grade, and really that was just a step up from the playgrounds and playing tackle football on the cement in second grade. But I've always really truly enjoyed the sport. I love it. I love every aspect of it, and now being a coach, there's not a part of the job that I don't enjoy. Whether it's the recruiting, it's the off-season training, it's the mentoring of the young men. And then, of course, the practicing and the playing the games on Saturday afternoons.
When did you figure out that your skill set you up to be a quarterback?
Well, I was fortunate. I was always able to throw the ball, fairly far from my age and or my size. I was always one of the smaller players in my grade and then on my teams. Probably realized I had some ability with it by 10th grade. And then there was an opportunity on my varsity football team at Shoreline High School in Seattle, Washington, to compete for the quarterback position on the varsity. And I went for it. And, I had a really good mentor. Stan Taloff was my coach then. He did a great job of making me comfortable at playing the position, and then also developing, the other things that go along with it, the competitiveness, the poise, and just, always feeling just real comfortable with the way he coached me.
And then at what point did you know that you were going to kind of continue your career in college and then eventually make it into the pro ranks as well?
Well, I was really fortunate. I've always been fortunate. I still to this day feel that I'm fortunate. When I got, to my senior year of high school, I was pretty confident I played collegiately, being a student athlete and playing quarterback. And I went to a junior college myself back in 1987. I was there for 2 years. Had a great experience. I think that helped me with the moving to the opportunity at Monroe College in 2011, having that 2 years of experience right out of high school as a college student athlete. A lot of challenges my first couple years with injuries. I suffered a severe broken leg my freshman year, and A couple shoulder injuries my second year, but fortunately I was able to play in games my second year and finish the season. And I moved on and went to Grand Junction, Colorado my junior year, and played at Mesa State for a man I'm very fond of, Bob Cortez. You know, as I said, my junior college experience was tremendous, and I had a great relationship with my coach there. But, you know, Bob Cortez made a man out of me. You know, by the time I left, you know, Grand Junction in December of 1989, I made a tough decision at that point to come back and play at Central Washington. But when I left Grand Junction there for the holidays, you know, Bob Cortez had made a man out of me, and it really helped me moving through my life, you know, into, you know, the end of my college playing days and being a student, and then, you know, into my early 20s and raising a family and things like that. You know, I've just been fortunate to come across the coaches that I've been fortunate to play for. Wayne Purda, my first 2 years at my junior college at Yakima Valley Community College, my junior year at Mesa State in Grand Junction, Colorado for Bob Cortez, and then I finished up, you know, at Central Washington University, and you know, had another great experience. So I traveled around a bit, you know, to play, but, you know, I got to play a lot, you know, as a college student athlete, and there's a lot of reward in that. I think, you know, one thing that goes with being a student athlete and playing intercollegiate athletics is it's important to go where they really want you to be. And I think that makes the experience that much better. So those things worked out well for me.
And at what point did you know you'd have an opportunity to make a career out of football?
Probably the latter part of my senior year in college. I felt there may be an opportunity for me to continue to play. I really wasn't sure what was going to happen. I can remember our season was over my senior year at Central Washington. We were the #1 ranked team in the country for about 12 or 13 straight weeks, and we lost the national semifinals to a school in Pennsylvania. We flew back from Washington State all the way back to Pennsylvania and played our opponent. They defeated us. And I can remember, you know, not being unsure about whether I'd play again. And then it was a Saturday morning. My college coach, my senior year at Central Washington, Mike Dunbar, called me, and he said there was going to be a scout from the British Columbia Lions of the CFL at Husky Stadium in downtown Seattle on Sunday. Well, the truth of the matter is, I really wasn't in shape. I hadn't done a lot of things to prepare for that. So nonetheless, I went and I had the workout. It was myself and 3 other college players that they were working out. And at the end of it, you know, it didn't go the way I had wanted it to, but my body at work on that day led me to actually go up to Vancouver for another workout. And fortunately, they signed me to a contract, and that's when I was, you know, moving from the collegiate ranks to the professional ranks. And I was able to play for about 8 years after college, and you're talking about fortunate and rewarding and fun. So it was probably the middle or latter part of my senior year in college. But, you know, I'm going to be really honest. You know, I played with a lot of great players in college, both at you know, Yakima Valley, Mesa State, and then at Central Washington as my senior year. We had a great defense, great defensive players. We were really, really solid on offense as well. And, you know, we had a really nice year. But, you know, the reason why those things happen is the people that surround us. And those are the things that help catapult us to the opportunities, you know, to keep doing the things that we love to do.
That's great. And, you know, just knowing your resume a little bit, I've seen kind of all the different stops you've made in your professional career. And, you know, some of the things you see are you know, different leagues that you hear about throughout the years, how they've changed, like the Arena Football League, you said the CFL, and even NFL Europe, which famously is where Kurt Warner got his start. So what was it like playing professional football, especially American football, overseas?
Extremely satisfying. You know, as I said earlier in our conversation here this afternoon, I really love football. So, you know, to be able to play it into my late 20s and then move on from playing into coaching, you know, it's just been really, really rewarding for me. Back when I was playing in the Arena League, my first year was 1993 in Tampa Bay. And I was playing with Jay Gruden at the time, who was most recently the head coach of the Washington Redskins, and now he's the offensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got to play with him, talking about a great guy and a great competitor, and just a really, really great quarterback, in the league. So that was great, And I actually, in 1995, I actually played against Kurt Warner when he played for the Iowa Barnstormers. And then shortly after that, he went into NFL Europe. So I was in NFL Europe a couple years before Kurt, but what Kurt Warner was doing, he was tearing up the Arena League. At that point in the mid-'90s, he signs an NFL contract. I believe he got allocated over to NFL Europe, and he played a season there, and then the rest is really history. I mean, he goes on, has a tremendous NFL career, and was really outstanding for two different NFL organizations. So, to be able to be, on the same field with those guys and to see them flourish in their careers, it's really fun to see.
That's really cool. I didn't know about that story about Jay Gruden. So it's great that people you connect with just by playing at all different levels, and the names you hear that you wouldn't be surprised about.
Right. I mean, it just comes back to timing and people that help you get to where you're going. And like I said earlier, it's good fortune, And Jay's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. He's an extremely competitive guy. But the thing that I really, was extremely, impressed by with Jay was he had so much fun playing football. And it was fun for him. And boy, I tell you what, when it was game time, he was just an ultra competitor, and you could see that at times, on the sideline with the Redskins as well. But, I'm really glad to see that he's bounced back here. He's in Jacksonville, and, I think he'll be in the NFL, for many years to come.
Yeah, he and his brother alike, of course. So
Right.
what was the process of kind of winding down your playing career and becoming a coach?
Well, I ended playing in the Canadian Football League with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Some things, really came into perspective for me. It wasn't the most ideal situation for me, and it has nothing to do with anything that I would have anything negative to say. I just got to the point where I felt that for my family, at that point in time, it was 1998, and I had 3 daughters, 6, 4, and, a few months old, my third daughter. And I just made a decision that it was time for me to move away from the playing and the movement around the country, and with the playing opportunities, and try to become a little more stabilized with what I was doing, as far as, what I was my employer or what I was doing for work. And so I made a decision in August of 1998 that I was going to move forward into coaching and step away from being a football player.
So what was the first step along that journey of coaching, and then how did that all lead to Monroe College?
Great question. Okay. Bob Cortez, who was my college coach my junior year, became the offensive coordinator of the Portland Forest Dragons in the Arena Football League in 1998. So he was there 1 year. They had their season in 1998. And in 1999, they were looking for 2 or 3 younger coaches on the staff. And really my, relationship with Coach Cortez led for me to get that first opportunity as a coach in the Arena League. So I was an offensive assistant there with the Portland Forest Dragons, did some of the personnel work for them. And it was just a tremendous opportunity for me. I mean, I didn't get paid very much, but it was more than enough for us to make it with my family and, my wife at the time. And it just really was, I was fortunate again. I keep saying that word over and over, but, the relationship I had with Bob Cortez led for me to get this opportunity as a young football coach. And the other coach they hired was James Fuller, and I competed against James Fuller in junior college. Okay, I competed against him in the NFL Europe. I actually played on the same team with him for a small, short period of time in NFL Europe. And so myself and James Fuller were both hired in 1999 to coach for the Portland Forest Dragons. And I'm very thankful for not only Bob Cortez, but Stan Brock, who was the head football coach that time with that organization.
Where did that lead you to after that first experience was done, and kind of how did you find yourself climbing the ranks a little bit over the years?
Well, that initial year in Portland led for me to get the offensive coordinator opportunity with the Los Angeles Avengers in the Arena Football League. Stan Brock had hired me into that role again. Stan played a real positive part into my initial opportunities in coaching, and then my advancements early, with my coaching career. So I was there in Los Angeles for 2 years. Things didn't go as well as we would have liked, and whenever you're on a staff, you're contributing, or you're a part of the success, or you're a part of, the things that don't go as well. And you just live and you learn. And I have nothing but good things to say about the organization and the opportunities that were in front of me at that point in time. All right. And then once I left Los Angeles, that's what brought me to the East Coast. All right. I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington, and we were in Los Angeles at the time in the late 90s. And when I lost my job early 2000, it was 2001, I got an opportunity to coach the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Pioneers. It was a startup opportunity. So I was able to be a part of a startup opportunity there, being named the head coach, in their inaugural season in 2002. So that opportunity in Pennsylvania is really what brought me to the East Coast, and I've been here ever since. Since about, would be September of 2001, I've been on the East Coast.
So of course, right there, you're explaining you already had experience with a startup program. And in 2011, you're brought into Monroe College to, again, start up a program. What do you think it was back then, when you first interviewed and came in at the college, that maybe the Jerome family or the athletic department saw in you that said that this is the right guy to run this program?
Well, that's a great question. We should probably interview the Jeromes. But, I had a plan. I put a lot of study into what it would take into how we would be done. I understood the ins and outs of what it would cost. And I also understood, what football would be from a positive standpoint for Monroe College. I've been pretty, good friends with Mark Duda at Lackawanna, and Coach Duda worked with me in Wilkes-Barre in 2002, and we became, pretty good friends. I would say we're probably better friends than the amount that we talk. We don't talk a lot, but when we do a lot of catching up, and it's been a great relationship. Obviously, it's very competitive because he's the head football coach at Lackawanna, but Mark Duda is a big reason why I'm the head coach at Monroe College, because he had recommended me and my name to, I believe it was Lou Melendez at the time when they were doing the research to start the program in 2011. And then Coach Duda mentioning my name is what led to starting the interaction between myself and Monroe College. And it was Lou Melendez, and it was Bert Schillingford at the time, who was the athletic director. Then I had an interview with David Dimon and Mark Jerome in July, early July, and in the late July, I believe it was, in 2011, I interviewed with President Stephen Jerome at the time, who's now the chairman. And then I had one more interview, and then I got the phone call that I'd be hired. So, I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Duda. The way their school operates is somewhat similar to ours as far as the ins and the outs of it. And my relationship with Coach Duda really allowed me to be very prepared for the interview. And I think that's what led to, myself being, pinpointed as the guy to lead the program, from the get-go.
Hey Mustangs, I just wanted to tell you about the brand new Monroe MustHangs sideline store, powered by our apparel partner BSN Sports. Create your own unique piece of Mustang gear by choosing from hundreds of apparel options, colors, graphics, and your choice of the new Monroe MustHangs logo collection. Through the end of November, you could take 15% off when you spend $85 or more on the Monroe MustHangs sideline store. Just use the code NOV20, that's NOV20. Visit the Monroe Mustang sideline store at monroecollegemustangs.com/shop and gear up for the new school year.
And as we know today, Lackawanna coming off a national championship appearance last year, and Coach
Yep.
Yuta is very highly regarded amongst the junior college ranks. So it's definitely a good coach to have on your side for sure. I didn't know you guys had that kind of relationship, so now I'm going to be looking for that on game day now. The next time we see them, because that must be
Yeah,
a fun, friendly rivalry for you.
it is. I have a lot of respect for Mark. He runs a great program. They do it the right way there. They're well versed. They're very balanced. And what I mean by that in leadership is they care about the most important facets of running a program. Okay. You got to have academics as a part of it. You have to have social development and social interaction on a positive level and positive experience for your student athletes. And then obviously that the third part of it is just developing those players athletically to their fullest ability. And they do an amazing job there of that. To be up here in the Northeast and, we have our own unique, what I would say, competitive climate up here. I think it's a bit underestimated around the country and in the NJCAA. But Coach Student's at the forefront of being the head football coach in one of the best programs in the country, and that's one of the great things about when we get the opportunity to play them. It gives us the opportunity to play the best, one of the best teams in the country each and every year. And when you look back through our conference and or our teams up here in the Northeast, you learn fast the things that you need to do to get your program competitive, or you're going to fall behind real fast. And out of the gate, we were playing Dean College, Nassau, ASA, and Lackawanna. So those were four teams that were nationally ranked every single year. And you figure out, the blueprint that you need in order to be successful and to put, a football team together, to be competitive.
Of course, that success did start pretty quickly, but I want to start from the very beginning of the program and just ask, what was it like trying to recruit your first class year and filling up a football roster for the first time at a brand new program?
Well, it's challenging, and I go back to those four teams I just mentioned: Dean, all right, Nassau, ASA, and Brooklyn, and Lackawanna. Okay, those were established programs when we came in, to existence in 2011, and then we started recruiting for the fall of the 2012 season. Well, basically what happens is they're using their experience and what they've done against you. So out of the gate, you got some challenges, all right? And one of the decisions I made early was we would play with an entire freshman football team. So we were going to take our lumps, all right? You're playing against, programs with two-year players, freshmen and sophomores, and some of those players that are sophomores have redshirted years, so they're 20 or 21 years old. And then we're playing with 110 freshmen, and we actually had two sophomores. Our starting running back was a sophomore, and we had a offensive guard that was in our rotation, for our offensive line. But we had 110 freshmen. So we took our lumps. I made that decision because I wanted to start the program with players that I felt we could hone and mold in a manner that would be more progressive and in a manner more fitting to what my vision was than if we had a bunch of players from all over, 5 kids from the Midwest that played already at a college, 5 players from the South that played at a college, and then comes in and they have all their own idea. They may have some of their own ideals. And I just felt it was better to mold a football team with a very, very young group.
And so the first year, the team went 2-6, but obviously picking up 2 wins right off the bat is big for a brand new program. But the success really came very quickly the next season when the team won 7 games, including the final 6 of the 2013 season. And that also includes the program's first win over a team like Lackawanna. What kind of flipped the second year? Was it having a bunch of sophomores that knew the pro system or something else?
Well, the way it unfolded was all those freshmen got to play. So there's a great, majority of players the second year that were, in their sophomore seasons had already had their feet wet, playing against that, an 8-game schedule as freshmen in 2012. We took our lumps, okay? Those guys had a great off season in the weight room and the conditioning that we did. We were able to get about 11 practices in the spring of 2013 in. and which was very productive for us. So we had a group of players for the 2013 season, that were seasoned. They'd been through the schedule, they'd been in the battles, and that's what put us in a position to have a 7-2 record in 2013. We had a good quarterback in Clayton Turner. He did a really good job for us. We had a very, very good on defense. And I'll tell you the thing about that football team in 2013, they were resilient. We won a lot of close football games that year because they were resilient, they were tough, and they were battle tested. They were battle tested from 2012. So talking about something that was, really fun, you come out of the gate, you take your lumps, you have a vision. And then in 2013, our coaching staff did a tremendous job. Our defensive coordinator, Chris Karate, and the staff there on defense, they did an amazing job, and our offense developed. And, Frank Cacaro at that time was, our offensive line coach, and he did a tremendous job in recruiting players into our program. So my hat's off to some of those coaches that were with us early and really helped set up where we are now. We're going into 2020, 2021 now. The reason we're here and we're talking about some of the success we've had in the last 3 or 4 years, it's because of what players did in 2013 and 2014 and 2016 and so on and so forth. All right. It's about a journey. Okay. You're building a road. Okay. And the road is taking us to the point where we are now, but we're going to continue building the road.
And you did mention that the last 3 or 4 years have been very successful. And actually, the team has won at least 7 games each of the past 4 years. And I've experienced 3 of those seasons. And I knew coming in that this was going to be a good football team. So from one thing I've seen from the last few years is that it seems that if you look at just the stats, it looks like it's a team that runs the ball a lot, plays really good defense, including being the #1 ranked defense a couple of years ago, and just being up there near the top of the entire NJCAA the last few years. But when you watch the offense and you see the tape, you see the games, that you still have also had a dynamic quarterback that while they can run the ball, they also throw the ball well. So what is it that you think has helped to create some sustained success the last few years for your team?
I think the bottom line is players. We've been done a really good job. I feel our assistants in the recruiting. We've been able to continue to grow the program through the recruiting that we do. I think that the recruiting, when we talk about offense and quarterback play, it's also the players that we've surrounded those quarterbacks with. We've had some outstanding, quarterback play in the last 4 or 5 years. Going back to 2016, we had Aaron Williams out of Massachusetts, and then we had Sean Kelly was his backup. Sean Kelly goes into a game, and I believe it was 2017, and throws 5 touchdowns against Lackawanna. Jalen Brown, plays for us 2018. Does a tremendous job as a dual threat quarterback. And unfortunately for Sean Kelly, he was injured and missed 3 or 4 games his sophomore year, in our program. But that gave Jalen a chance to get his feet wet as a redshirt freshman and set up his success, to become, he was the most valuable offensive player in the Northeast region, his second year here. And then Dom Schaffner comes in and transfer into our program from North Carolina Central, And we just, have had that consistency at that position, but really it's the recruiting and the players that, surround the quarterbacks as well. I could sit here and talk all day about, the things that those guys did and the things that they do well, and, their personalities and their leadership and their positive intangibles that they have as quarterbacks and, as leaders. But we've surrounded those guys with better players each and every year. And I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff for that in the recruiting process.
And now the last couple of seasons, of course, we've seen the most success the program has seen to date so far, making bowl games in back-to-back years, becoming a highly ranked program, well-respected across the country, even reaching up to number 7 this past season before getting the second bowl invite. So let's go back to 2018, getting that first invitation to the Graphic Edge Bowl. Of course, I'm wearing my sweatshirt from that game. I remember the day, and I remember how excited you were to talk to the team about getting that invitation. So you walk me through that experience of being able to tell the team that they earned that spot for the first time, and then the whole experience of actually attending the bowl game, doing the banquet, going through practices, staying in the hotel, all of that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a really exciting way to, cap off a successful regular season. We did, our football team did things in 2018 to put us in that position to earn the opportunity and the invitation to go to that bowl game back in Iowa. We've got the opportunity to play against, again, one of the better teams in the country. But it just makes you feel amazing inside to be able to tell, your football team, the opportunities in front of them. It's the reward for their body of work throughout the course of the regular season. So it was just something that was extremely exciting. It almost, to this day, it still gives me goosebumps just talking about it here. So that was just a great experience all around.
I got to experience both games as well, so I know that those were just some of the better experiences I've had as a sports information director as well. So now the second year, you get invited once again after an 8-win season. You get to go to the Salt City Bowl, this time around in Hutchinson, Kansas, which is the home of many NJCAA championships. Our basketball teams have been out there, our volleyball teams have been out there, and so now you got this experience as well as at a place that's really well known in the NJCAA. Going out there to play the number 3 team in the country, made it a really competitive game, had a lot of big plays in that game. I know I really enjoyed that experience up in the press box as well. So what was it like going to your second bowl game, knowing you had sophomores and coaches that have experienced this before and going to do your best to earn that first bowl game win?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is rewarding. I mean, consistent season again in 2019. We know we lost 2 tough football games, lost to Lackawanna, and we lost on in the last 10 seconds against ASA. So we were really close to being 9-1. So I felt really good about the opportunity to go back and play in the Salt City Bowl. It's the number 3 team in the country at that time, Hutchinson Community College. Lackawanna was playing for the national championship a couple of days before we actually played in that game. So we had played one of the best teams in the country already. So we were really, looking forward to that opportunity. We played really good football in that game. In fact, we were in that game up until the middle or latter part of the third quarter. Then they started to lean on us a little bit and got the better of us there in the last 15 to 18 minutes. But I was really proud of our football team, the way they went back there and competed. And, just the resilience that they showed, during the course of that game, on Hutchinson Community College's home field there. But it was just a great experience again for our program. I think the thing that I take away from it is, getting to see our players compete in another football game, on that type of a stage against an elite football team in the country at the junior college level. And it provides a blueprint for me, as the head coach and our staff of the things that we need to do in order to go back and win a football game like that. Okay. And it also gives our players that are coming back a similar blueprint and or understanding for what they need to do, to get better as players and maximize their ability. Yeah,
I remember that game was much more competitive than the score said. I know up in the press box, the media is the ones who vote and decide on who wins the post-game awards, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, and throughout the whole game, it was unanimous that a Monroe player was going to be winning defensive player of the game. It ended up going to Tim Donahue. I remember Heath Stephen was also right there next to him. Both guys had just huge games on defense, and I know that a lot of the people up there were very impressed by our team. So it just goes to show that things are working with this program, and hopefully soon we're gonna make it a consistent thing, keep going back to these bowl games, and get one of those wins soon. I'm sure it's gonna happen. I would have to bet on it.
Yeah, that's the thing that we want to really work and strive for now is consistently competitive football team. We want to be competitive each and every year. We want all of our players to graduate. We want all of our players to move on. So it's not just about the record during the season. Of course, that's important. But behind the scenes, or something that should be talked about is we want all of our players to graduate and to move on. And it's been really nice to see that a lot of our players have been able to use Monroe College as a stepping stone to move on to 4-year institutions at the NCAA level and also the NAI level.
Yeah, we've seen a lot, especially in the last few years, a lot of athletes that are moving on from the football program to some pretty big Division I programs as well, whether it's scholarships or walking on, earning that spot. And one thing that did happen in the last couple of years is that we actually had our first Monroe alumni make it to the NFL in Tuzar Skipper, who went from Monroe to the University of Toledo before being
Right.
picked up as an undrafted free agent. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, played for the Giants before going back to the Steelers last year. What's it like for you as a coach to see a player that you were coaching move on to the professional ranks like that?
Well, I'm just happy to see that, he's developed himself, not only, as an athlete, but, from the standpoint of, the development as a person as a whole. Tuzar was a very good athlete here and an impact player. He goes on to Toledo. I believe he played there for 3 years. And he did well enough there as a football player to go, to the NFL and compete for a roster spot. I know he made it or was on rosters throughout the course of last year. And I'm just really happy for him. Tuzar's a young man that, overcame a lot of adversity in his life. And I just couldn't be more proud of him.
I know when the news broke that he had made the Steelers a couple of years ago, and whether it was the practice squad, and then he got picked up by the Giants, which I know a lot of people around us were excited about, and then going back to the Steelers, that a lot of people around campus were talking to me about him, and it just goes to show what an impact he had at Monroe, and just that he had a lasting effect on the program and Monroe College as a whole.
Yeah.
So now
Absolutely.
we look forward to what is technically 2021 for us. The fall 2020, instead of having our athletic season this year, it's put because of COVID-19 pandemic was pushed back to 2021, and we're going to be playing the spring season for the first time ever. So I want to talk about what it's been like having to go through the fall, doing all your workouts, going through practices, not having games to prepare for yet. What was it like throughout the semester running your program and having to deal with the different protocols and everything that goes along with it right now?
Well, the first thing I would say is that, it was a real pleasure just to have our players back on campus and be able to be around them, be able to coach them, and do all the things that are a part of our interaction as a football team, from the coaching staff to the players, the trainers, the people in academic support, people in admissions, everything that goes, with the entire program. It was just great to be back together, number one. I think the thing that you have to make the priority is whenever you're working with students, in higher education, you have to make sure it's safe. Okay, safety and security is paramount. And, we did that. And I think it's been a really a positive, opportunity and time spent for us. But, when you're managing, running a program or a college or what have you, when you have the challenge with the pandemic, it's a little tricky. It's different. Okay, you've got to be patient. You've got to work through some things. But like I said, number one, you just got to make sure that it's safe and secure for everybody that's around you.
What's it been like for you as a coach, knowing that you kind of have this routine every year, and July and August come around and you start preparing for the season, you have the guys come on campus, and within a month you're playing games, and this time around that wasn't the case. Now, of course, the non-traditional spring season that you usually have when you play spring ball and practices didn't really happen either. So this is kind of making up for it. But what's it like having the fall semester to prepare for a potential spring season?
Well, I would say that the whole thing, the way it's unraveled with the changing of the seasons, basically, as you mentioned right now, we're in the fall and we're basically done some things similar to what we would have done in the spring. So we're doing spring ball now in the fall, and we're going to play our season in the spring. It's been a little bit of a shock, to be honest. I think that for myself, I did what I could to mentally prepare myself for these differences and to overcome, not coaching in games here in the fall. And I think overall myself and then the rest of our coaching staff has done a good job with that. And then we allowed for the experience we've had with our players, since September to be positive. But, it's something that hasn't been easy to get used to, but you have to work through it. I think you have to overcome these challenges, make the most of the opportunities in front of you, and just, make the most of each and every day. And that's the way we've approached it.
It's good to hear from you as well, because I talked to a bunch of our other coaches as well during this time, and everyone's really going through the same thing, no matter if they're a traditional spring sport or a fall sport. We're kind of everyone's preparing in the fall to have a season in the spring. So
Yep.
it's been a similar theme really, where it's kind of getting adjusted to a new format, a new protocol, a new timeline. And I know we're all very hopeful that everything works out perfectly for a spring season to begin, and then we'll figure it out from there. You guys are going to be going from colder weather to warmer weather as the season goes along, so that's going to be something different. And I know right now we're actually in the middle of virtual homecoming week for Monroe College, and usually one of the highlights of homecoming week is the athletic events over the weekend, and the football game is one of the main events of homecoming week. Obviously, we don't get that right now, but we still have plenty to look forward to here. So I want to know, now that you've had the entire fall semester with the team, and you've seen what your guys can do, you've seen what your recruit class this year looks like, and the returning sophomores, what are some things we can look forward to once the season does begin?
Oh, well, competition number one. All right, getting the opportunity to play against the other colleges in the Northeast, obviously. I feel like we have a solid football team. We're still working to put everything together. All right, as far as molding the new players, the returning players, and preparing on offense, defense, and then of course special teams. But I'm really excited about our football team, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with them throughout the end of this semester, and then when we come back in January as well.
I know it's definitely one of the things I'm looking forward to. Of course, I look forward to every sport, and come the spring season, it's going to be the first time ever we really have every single season overlapping with each other, which, of course for you, I hopefully doesn't make too much of a difference, but for me, it's going to be, everything piling on. But
right.
It's been so long since we've had athletics that, I kind of welcome that challenge, and I'm bringing it on because, it's what we like to do. So,
you're going to have a lot of sports on top of one another all at the same time. All right. But, right now, I think what's important is that, we get this sophomore class an opportunity to play in the spring. All right. Get a season in the books, give them the opportunity to continue to work through, graduate, and get recruited, to their next destination, where they're going to go and play another 2 or 3 years and work towards earning their bachelor's degree and perhaps a master's degree, and those things that go along with, the college experience and the reward of, earning that degree and help allowing that to help enhance their lives in the years to come.
I agree. And I think that's, again, a common theme with Monroe College, that we want to make sure that all of our athletes are succeeding, not only on the field, on the court, but also in the classroom. So Coach, we're running out of time here today. I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me, getting this interview done. I'm really happy to finally have you on the show. Very much looking forward to this next season. The last few seasons have just been an incredible amount of fun watching this team and how it grows. So I'm really looking forward, really hopeful that we're going to have a really great season coming up this spring. So again, I want to thank you for coming on. For those watching, make sure you're checking out all of our past episodes as well as this one on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Monroe MustHangs. We are also on our Instagram page on IGTV at Monroe MustHangs. And you can listen to this in podcast form on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to podcasts. So make sure you subscribe. Coach, thank you so much again. Stay safe. Enjoy homecoming week. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Really enjoyed it. All right. Hope we can do it again sometime in the not too distant future.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll do it in person next time.
All right. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, Coach. Stay safe out there, everyone.